Beaufort County to order this April 16, 2025. We now have a quorum. First agenda item for today is the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? We all have copies.
Move.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? The agenda is approved for today. Next order of business is the approval of the minutes from our February 19, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Moved.
There's a second. Any discussion? Any additions or corrections? There being none, the minutes of the meeting February 19th are approved. At this time, we will do introductions, starting with Sally.
Ron Buchanan, St. Helens Islands.
Paula Brown, Beaufort County Council District 8.
USCD water quality lab.
I'm Mark Feinberg. I'm chairman, and I represent District 9 and Fusky Island.
Patrick Mitchell representing Lake Town.
Ed Warner, Hillhead. Dennis Ross at large.
Thank you all for coming. You can see the moniker on the board in front of you about public comments that we're going to open in a second. And we wish to remind people that please try to limit your discussion to 3 minutes. And in about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, we'll give you a nod, notifying you that your 3 minutes are almost up. If you wish to speak at this time, you need to come up to the podium so you can be broadcasted throughout the county. At this time, is there any public comment?
Chairman Fine, Stormwater Utility Board members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jim Walton. I reside at 52 Oyster Street in Altroy. Our community is anticipating the start of the stormwater drainage study for our area, as we believe it will establish a comprehensive plan for our neighborhood next to the ORW May River. I am requesting, with consensus of this board, the adoption of best use practices for pervious paving materials on sidewalks, bike paths, and parking areas on, near, or upstream of critical waterways, such as the May River, and to make your position known to the Beaufort County Engineering Department and to the members of County Council. On a related topic, I am making a plea to the board to recognize the critical value of a May River watershed situated at 34 Ulmer Road, outside the town of Bluffton, plat number R600-039-00B 0038-0000. This non-tidal wetland is essential to the Stormwater Utility Board's mission. Quote, to determine appropriate levels of public stormwater management services, recommend funding for program elements, advise on master planning and cost of service studies, and support sound stormwater management practices to mitigate pollution and improve drainage. The property is at a heightened risk for development. In fact, a special use permit to fill and permanently alter this prized stormwater reservoir was presented to the Zoning Board of Appeals in January for a 38-unit housing development. I strongly encourage the Stormwater Utility Board to recommend this land be placed in a conservation easement via the Beaufort County Green Space Fund. Thank you.
Anybody else to wish to speak at this time? If you wish to make public comment, you need to go to the podium, sir.
Hi, my name is Laura Wilson. I live in Alljoy. Good afternoon, Chairman, and it's Feinberg. He is fine, but it is Feinberg, and the Stormwater Board. It was good to get a call late last summer from a Beaufort County Council member with great news that our County Administrator, Michael Moore, was in support of pervious surfaces being used for Alljoy, as it only makes sense due to our known flooding issues. Yet, we're seeing a continued push for concrete. A recent article, Beaufort County moves forward with Alljoy sidewalk project and resident concerns, amid resident concerns. Why? When Beaufort County, the town of Bluffton, and SCDOT all promote pervious natural surfaces. I had previously sent into the board 6 photos. 1, pervious surfaces in front of Town Hall, Bluffton Town Hall, and also a huge public display of information on pervious surface used at Petco in Bluffton, pervious surface in Beaufort County, Beaufort, pervious concrete examples, and also a widened road with a walking area. And number 6 was a pervious surface with SCDOT promoting. Residents are very concerned as concrete would worsen our known stormwater drainage and flooding issues. The piping under the concrete path will catch and dump unfiltered stormwater, oil, chemicals, pollutants directly into the May River. I have plans with me. I should have brought them up as well. We asked February 27th of 2024 for an SCDOT engineer to come out to speak with a resident who happens to be here directly because he was concerned his drain field failed 3 times. And so going through this, because he has all this standing water, it was asked, where's all this going to go? Well, in the May. There's no, retention ponds. I'm here today to ask that the Stormwater Utility Board please advise and recommend to Beaufort County Engineering's Department to utilize a natural pervious surface for Alljoy's proposed sidewalk, such as pavers or granule rock. The next best scenario would be to widen the road and put in a walking bike lane so polluted stormwater can naturally filter, alleviating Beaufort County from being known as mega polluters. On the county's website, Beaufort County and Engineering's primary mission states engineering a better Beaufort. We're not Beaufort. The mission of the engineering department is to best serve the transportation and mobility needs of Beaufort County citizens while enhancing the beauty and sustainability of the built environment. Our community previously asked why aren't our ditches cleared and property maintained? Why for 15 years until the Stormwater Utility Board Chairman, Mark Feinberg, came to Alljoy and saw the residents what they had been pleading for, and we started to get help. Followed by Beaufort County Stormwater Manager. Moral compass, ethics. As always, we thank this board and we thank the chairman for caring. And please consider us when it comes to promoting to the engineering department pervious surfaces. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments at this time?
I'm always unprepared. I'm a troublemaker from the get-go. Hi, my name's Collins Dowdy, live at 55B Oyster Street in the Alljoy area. And basically, pervious versus impervious is one of my main concerns. Luckily, my house I've never had a flooding problem. I'm just on the edge of where they've had issues, but our ditches are still woefully horrible. I mean, they're terrible. They don't, mosquito larva is, it's stagnant water. Usually the water runs the opposite way than it should run. And I know that all those chemicals go into the May. And then I sit there and, we do call every once in a while to say, hey, can you come and, work on this ditch? And I see maybe a truck show up, do one little tiny section, and then they're out of there. And it's way past due. I've lived at this residence for, I don't know, 25 years, I guess, at least. I grew up on Hilton Head when, I think our house was the 8th house in Sea Pines, and Hilton Head has had it. It's gone. So that's what motivated me to move to Bluffton. And I love where I live. I love the neighborhoods, and I love the people that are there. And we all really care about our quality of life and keeping it the way it had been for eons, family after family, and they turn it over. And I don't know where we stand on getting the ditches. I mean, we get we get rainfall, but we get sometimes rainfalls that are a typical summer afternoon shower. And especially when you turn off of Alljoy right onto Shad, the water is almost to the top of the tires. I mean, it's way past time to get this stuff resolved. I mean, way past. And as much as we pay in taxes and everything else, I mean, I was informed year before last that I was no longer in a flood zone, but yet when I got my flood insurance invoice day before yesterday, it had gone up $500, which I have yet to address, but I was like, why is it up when I'm not even in a flood zone? But I just think it's, on my street in particular, one resident who has passed away planted bamboo along his property line, but that bamboo, as you know, spreads like wildfire. And these are, I know it's up. It's grown really hard, and it's all fallen down into the drainage ditch. I don't know whose responsibility it is to get stuff out of there, because that's impeding the flow in our drainage ditches. And I don't know if it's something that Beaufort County can look at, and if it's their problem, inform them that it's their responsibility to get rid of it. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, we want to leave some time for other people.
I get it. Sorry that I came unprepared. That's me.
Thank you.
I'll just write it down.
Can't wait to see it. I'd rather read about flounder. Would anybody else like to make a public comment?
My name is Sam Connor. I live at 70 Calhoun Plantation Road. I'm here to give a public comment on the old business Calhoun Plantation Road appeal that is for 68 Calhoun Plantation Road is the project. Today I want to talk to Stormwater Utility Board about the importance of taking action on this appeal. Last board meeting, Dylan Kidd insisted that the Stormwater Board cannot take action on the appeal while our zoning board appeals in circuit court, because it would create concurrent proceedings, and that we were appealing a ruling of the zoning board to the Stormwater Board. That is not the case. We did appeal the stormwater permit to the zoning board, but only because county staff told us that's what we had to do. But when we received our decision from the zoning board, the stormwater permit findings of fact were confined to the community development code requirements for single-family homes. and said nothing about the stormwater ordinance requirements for the other uses on the site. That is why we pursued the appeal to the Stormwater Utility Board, because the zoning board limited their decision to the Community Development Code. When the permit issued, the stormwater permit issued, says the project complies with the Stormwater Design Manual. Now that limited zoning board decision is being used as an excuse for keeping the Stormwater Board from deciding on the appeal issues ignored by the zoning board. The concurrent proceedings argument just doesn't hold water. There are two separate permits based on two totally different codes, appealed to two different review boards, and should have been approved by two completely different departments in the county in the first place. And we are not appealing the ruling of the we're not appealing the ruling of the zoning board to the stormwater board. The zoning board has jurisdiction over the Community Development Code and made their ruling based on that code. The stormwater board has jurisdiction over the stormwater ordinance, and the appeal before you is solely based on that code. We have the right to appeal the stormwater permit to a board with the powers and duties over stormwater ordinance and design manual administration that would issue a decision and findings of fact based on the code requirements relevant to the permit issued. There is no overlap. They are two different cases. Also, the developer has submitted an amended plan to the zoning department for review that still has all the same water quality, illicit discharge, and stormwater management issues that the original plan had. Also, through FOIA, we received the SCDS Coastal Zone Consistency Review comments requiring 1.5 inches of impervious, 1.5 inches of runoff over impervious surface be controlled because this project is within 1,000 feet of shellfish beds. The new plan did not comply with that requirement either. It's important for you to take action so my family and I can move forward a resolution. This is not a proposed project that could cause pollution. This is an approved project that will discharge polluted wastewater and runoff into the Collinson River. Thank you for your time.
There being no more public comment at this time, we will move into our reports segment. Dr. Petty?
Thank you.
To see you.
Good to see you too. Hopefully I don't mess this up. Anna, our lab manager, was supposed to be here, but parking was a problem, so I told her I would cover. So three main things. We have started into a collaboration with the Port Royal Sound Foundation to do citizens water quality monitoring, and so that officially kicked off this past month or so, where we're doing I think we have about 15 sites that citizens are going out and measuring water quality in the field and then bringing us samples, and we're doing this twice a month. This is a DES approved QOF that we have developed. I say we, really, it's the Port Royal Sound Foundation that's done a lot of legwork. But so this will be, it's not decision-making data, but it's better than like adopt a stream, if you're familiar with that. So they're excited about this, and it'll help them make decisions on where potential problems are in our watersheds.
Can I ask you just one quick question?
If that's appropriate, I don't
Is
care.
that just in Port Royal Sound, they're doing this testing?
Well, no, so we're calling it the Port Royal Sound, but we are including Calabogie Sound and the May River as part of that too. Yeah. So we're starting off a little bit slower. Sorry, I didn't even get into all this. We're starting off a little bit
That's quite right.
slower as far as number of sites, but we expect to expand as we go forward. So you volunteer? Fantastic. All right. Well, and this is why we wanted to do this. Is my lab is a research side. We monitor water quality, and students go out and monitor it, but we only have so many people, so much time to do it. The state has the resources to do it once a month. And so this is really meant to expand the geographic breadth and temporal sampling of the area. So we're excited about that. I don't want to burst the Port Royal Sound bubble, but they have a big database they're working on that eventually will be public facing, that the public can see this data too. And it'll bring together state data and a variety of data sources. So if you're interested in your particular watershed, you can see what data exists.
One question.
Yep.
I've heard from the audience that there's volunteers. Are you looking for volunteers? Because we need to get that out, maybe through the Clemson Extension agent or other mediums.
I would say yes and no. We are always going to be looking for volunteers. The Port Royal Sound Foundation is really managing the volunteer part of this, and I don't want to sign them up for something without them being here. But the goal is to look for more volunteers and expand that, yes. So if you're interested, I would encourage you to reach out to the Port Royal Sound Foundation.
They've been here, and maybe we can make that happen and put it on our website to let everybody know that they may be looking for volunteers or what the criteria for volunteer working is.
Yep. And that would be fantastic too. Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit more information. Adopt a Stream is cheaper, not cheaply made, but more inexpensive gear to use. Here we're using the same YSI handheld environmental monitoring meters that we use as the Water Quality Lab, that the citizens own and use their own. So a lot of these are like communities that have funds towards environmental projects, and so they purchase this, and then they go and monitor the waters around their community, for example. And then twice a month, taking those measurements in the field and then collecting water samples that we get back to our lab within the same day to do some additional laboratory analysis. So.
Great information.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the question too. So we have that going. We just went through a DES audit. I think the last one was 3 years ago. So they come and inspect the lab on a 3 to 5 year basis. And so everything, for the most part, went fine. We're waiting on their final result that we should have in our final report we should have in a couple weeks. And so there's some minor things we need to change, but overall that went well. And Anna texted me notes. I'm forgetting one thing. Oh, Bluffton has increased. For Bluffton now, we're doing, at least in the near term, they're doing some weekly monitoring in, I guess what you're calling kind of sub-watersheds of the May River to try and nail down particular pollutants. Of course, we're focusing on a lot on bacteria, but also nutrients and suspended solids. In particular, sampling designs in particular part of the watershed, so we can figure out what's stressing each individual part of the May River. And so we're going to be doing that on a weekly basis in an effort to get 5 dry and 5 wet samplings over the next 6 months to a year, however long that takes. And so they can identify, and with that we're using this molecular microbial source tracking using genetics to figure out, yes, there's bacterial pollution, but what's the source? So I think I've talked to you before about human versus dog versus deer sort of questions. So I think that's it.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
I have one thing to ask. Isn't there a meeting in Bluffton on 24th about watershed?
There may be.
24th at 3 o'clock?
There could be.
One of my constituents called me and said. Watershed is called.
Their action. Watershed Action Plan Committee. Yes. So, yeah, they have those. We attend those periodically, and I've presented at them before, but I'm not part of that board or any committee.
Study you've been working on about all the rivers like Okeechobee, May River. Oh, the town of Bluffton. Okay. Anyway, one of my constituents told me to be there. I think it's the 24th.
Thank you, Dr. Petty. Not sure, do we have any municipal reports at this time? Welcome back, Ellen.
Thanks for having me. So, what's been going on with the Low Country Stormwater Partners? We did complete our annual report for state permitting. I'm happy to say that this year we had over 3.5 million impacts in terms of education numbers, as well as over 5,000 involvement impacts for getting people outside and into the watersheds. So, this is something that I definitely do not do by myself. As Clemson Extension, I help head up the Low Country Stormwater Partners Consortium, which consists of over 40 different partners, including Beaufort County, as well as the Port Royal Sound Foundation. So we all pool our data together to bring out this report. So I have a rack card available later on if anyone wants it printed. But for the most part, we can just kind of show it off on Facebook for right now. Earth Month is gearing up to be a very busy month. I've already been to the Port Royal Sound's native plant sale. We've already done a sustainability workshop for Bull Point that goes over planting sustainable landscapes, particularly with rain gardens. We also have Softshell Crab Fest, May River Cleanup, Paris Island Earth Day, Beaufort County's Earth Day celebration, as well as a rain garden workshop coming up this Friday. We are going to actually be repairing a workshop on county property right by my office. And then we also have a webinar on the 22nd for protecting tidal creeks with vegetated buffers. If you guys are interested in that, the registration is available on the Low Country Stormwater Partners Facebook page. But otherwise, we're keep going, and happy Earth Month, everybody.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board? Are there any of our ex officio members present in the back? I don't either. I would like to go on record about our municipal partners who are ex officio members of the Stormwater Utility Board. And it's imperative that we talk to their management about their activity and cooperation and involvement in our Stormwater Board proceedings. It has been pointed out that the municipalities have had stormwater issues over a period of years that we were totally unaware of. And we want to make sure that their management understands that this is the forum for them to bring to us issues that may be more complex than they can handle by themselves, or just too large an event to take care of by themselves. So this is the forum where they ask for our assistance, and without knowing about those areas, there's little we can do. So I implore us as a Stormwater Utility Board to reach out to these municipality mayors and administrators to get involved. At this point, it would be time to introduce Paula Brown, our liaison to County Council. Mrs. Brown, do you have any words you would like?
I don't have anything to.
You need to go up. You need to stand up.
I have to go there?
Yes, ma'am. So everybody can see who you are. This is your initial visit.
Oh, that's right. I'm Paula Brown with County Council District 8, and I'm looking forward to being on Stormwater. I don't have anything to report today, but I'm learning a lot. Thanks, that's all I have.
Welcome.
And my buddy, Tom Reitz, he had something he had to do today, so this afternoon, but he will definitely be attending with me in the future.
Thank you. And welcome. Just know you have big shoes to fill because our last liaison became chairperson. Mrs. Brewer, our stormwater report.
Good afternoon, everyone. For our utility update, we have the stormwater utility fee restructure happening. Beaufort is most of the way through the process. We should have options soon. At that point, we will sit down with SWIC members to discuss what their stakeholder wishes and wants are from the restructure. Again, the goal of this restructure is to have a more accurate way of calculating stormwater fees. The intent is not to raise fees. So citizens should not see much of a fiscal impact from this, other than they will be able to comprehensively calculate what their fee should be instead of having a convoluted process. So accuracy and efficiency is the goal of the restructure. Also, SWIC memos have been held up this year because we discovered our CWI fee rates did not decrease in the way that they were supposed to. So my predecessor found that what we were charging the municipalities was not equating to our level of service, and she suggested dropping the CWI fees for 5 years to better balance that. And in the calculation of our tax run, those rates were not dropped. So municipalities were charged the same as they were last year. It wasn't an increase, it just wasn't a decrease. So I've sat down, my aim is to sit down with each municipality individually. I've already sat down with Town of Bluffton to make sure that we understand, Mr. Mark, going back to your earlier comment, what projects they have as priorities and need help with from the county, so that we can all make sure we have an understanding and that our level of service matches that CWI fee that we're charging the municipalities. So all that to be said, there will be more meetings soon. Town of Bluffton will be sending, they've just had a comprehensive drainage study done, so they have a list of owner assets for us, DOT, and the private sector. We'll be getting that, as well as their list of assets that they would like to improve, so we can help them with that. The Silico Design Manual, Bluffton has put it out for public comment and engineer comment, and then they made a round of edits, and that has been finalized through their county council process. And we have it open right now for public comment, for designer comment, for comment from the board. The effort is going to be having a third party look at the Silico Manual and not only fix the draft edit that is online, but make sure that all the other formatting is correct and that it reads cohesively. I think that if we're going to have a design manual, the way that we present it is also very important. So we're going to make sure that it addresses all of the issues that we've seen come up with the Silico Manual and getting it corrected. And then we will present that draft to the board first for recommendation to be presented to council.
Question I have is, you mentioned the town of Bluffton. Are the other municipalities weighing in on the Silico?
We are actively trying to revive conversations with all of the original stakeholders to make sure that they are all included. It was intended to be a regional design manual, so it would be beneficial if all of the original stakeholders were to officially adopt the design manual. And we would very much like for them to be involved in the edit process to make sure that we're capturing that opinion accurately.
If my memory serves me right, we also included Hardyville and other municipalities, not just the ones in the county.
That is correct. Yes, sir, as well as Jasper County. We will be reaching out to all of those municipalities. We've started talks. Jasper County got a massive grant to start a stormwater master plan, so we're going to help them with that as well and get their input on Silico Manual for edits.
Perfect.
For the projects report, the Alljoy drainage study was approved at PFC on March 17th. It went to council on Monday night and was approved on the consent agenda. So the draft contract has been sent to RIA for approval and comment. Once we get that back, then we will officially put the contract out to Seaman Whiteside so that they can begin work. We're very excited about that. I also had a resident request to see the extent of the study. They want to see it visually represented on a map of the drainage area, and as soon as I get that in my possession from the consultant, I will pass that along. As well as the goal is at the end of the drainage study, we will have a menu of solutions from the consultant, and at that time we will have a community meeting so that the public works team can communicate what our plan for the All Joy area is, as well as get feedback from the community. So
hopefully this will answer some of the questions that were raised previously during public comment.
Yes, sir, that's the idea. It is very much a neighborhood that has been piecemealed in the past, and having a comprehensive look at it as well as proposed solutions, I think will be very beneficial. For Bay Pines, work has kicked off. So the clearing of the maintenance shelf is, I would say, about a third of the way done. J Tires is our consultant contractor for that. Also, we have Wilbert working on a more comprehensive drainage analysis. We've gotten back preliminary solutions, and they were not what was initially kind of seen to be the problem for Bay Pines. So that's why we do the studies and have the engineers run the numbers, because it might be an easier fix than we originally thought. So we definitely have 2 pipes crossing under the road that we need to upsize that go into the ditch in the back area. That they think through the models shows will take care of most of the inundation in the area. So good news there. For Rivers Ends, the next update we have with news, we have decided to completely take out the lower system. If you'll remember, in the original plan, there were only hotspots identified in the lower system that were going to be replaced. However, after looking into it, the condition is very poor, and putting bioswales on top of a pipe in poor condition would not be very forward-thinking of us. So we're going to have the entire bottom system replaced, along with installing the bioswales on the top, which should take care of the sinkhole and collapsing driveway problem that has been going on for the past 5-ish years on Rivers End. It's going to be a very pretty aesthetic product. I think the citizens will be very happy. It'll also improve water quality on a TMDL. So that works for our TMDL implementation program. Tuxedo Park is slated to begin this spring. Our contractor on that one is finishing up another job before they start, but we look to start within a month or 2 for Tuxedo Park. That's the pond dredge project. And then Hickory Hill has started, or will start soon. The survey is complete, and then we'll start work either this week or early next week on Hickory Hill. For the Okatee River Park project, if you'll remember back to the last time we spoke, there was an issue with finding some survey data. They couldn't continue the design without having accurate elevations and invert levels for the head wall and the associated pipes. That data was not easy to locate, and I'm not sure even exists. So to not hold that project up anymore, we released a surveyor to go out there to go ahead and get Wilbert the shots that they need to continue with that design for Okatee Park, so that we don't hold the passive project up. If you'll remember, I asked the board for input. I was given an idea from Jared about a possible mitigation fund within the stormwater utility to buy out nuisance flooding properties and turn them into BMPs. I think we have several different neighborhoods that would benefit from a program like this. So for us all to put our brains together and go back to the creation of the stormwater utility fee and make sure that this is something that we can do inside of the fund, and then how do we set that up and move forward with that. So input from the board is very much appreciated on that topic as well. That brings me to Arthur Horn, which is one of my other favorite projects. So we were kind of promised a grant for this one, and I had a meeting with NRCS staff probably 3 weeks ago now. And in the federal climate, they don't think that we're going to be getting this grant. In the meantime, we have some backyards flooding out. We have citizen complaints in this area. It is supposed to be a functioning stormwater control structure of sorts. So our primary goal at this time is to restore positive drainage to make sure that that water is making it from the inlet to the outfall. Bradley's here now. We actually walked and saw that the outfall was completely clear. So the issue is that the water's not making it all the way to the outfall. So we're going to do this project in 2 phases. We're going to have a maintenance phase where we simply grub is what we need to get in and promote positive drainage. And then we will have a formal design drawn up for construction stamp plans to institute the rest of the project, which would be hopefully a boardwalk through the project, through the parcel the way that it used to be. There's a good dry peninsula that runs out into the middle of it. The original design cuts the parcel in half almost, and one side becomes a wet pond and one side becomes a functioning stormwater wetlands. The idea with this project is also to implement water quality features that will enhance water quality. Yes, sir.
Question about how much was the grant supposed to be for? And are you going to absorb that in your budget? And is it in the future budget that we just passed? Or
good question. So we had been told the grant was for around $2.2 million, and that was to fund the entire project. We're going to do some maintenance in-house. We're also going to contract out some maintenance, but that will be very minor, like I said, to get positive drainage flowing.
But to build this boardwalk and...
Yes, sir, that will be phase 2, and we do have money in the reserves that we can use, but we will have to look at that as at a staff level first and then get a recommendation from the board. But being...
Are you going to need a engineering study for that also?
We will need engineered plans for the phase 2, yes, sir.
In-house, out-house?
It would probably have to go out to bid because of the thresholds of procurement. I do think that this project is would be defendable in that it's something that's been promised to the community for many years, and at the bare minimum, I think we need to restore function to the pond. So,
well, I totally agree, and I'm sure everybody on this board would agree that taking care of residents whose homes are flooding becomes a priority, no matter where we get the funding from.
Yes, sir, I agree. With
Are you done?
yes.
Because I have a question about Shell Point.
Okay.
I read that we're still waiting on information that's still being bartered around. What have we been doing to update the residents in Shell Point? I don't think we've had a Shell Point meeting in a year and a half to keep them updated, because they're still having problems. I haven't looked at the website if that's being updated or whatever, but I mean, those folks are still hanging on with flooding issues on a regular basis.
Yes, sir. Staff does have plans to hold a community meeting once we know what direction we're going in, but that will happen very soon. We do understand and we appreciate the residents' patience, but we want to make sure that we have an update for them before we call a community meeting. But that is on the books for the plan. Thank you. For professional contracts, Beaufort is currently our only on-call for A&E Stormwater Services, and their contract expires in October. We were given instruction from upper management to have 3 firms on call for A&E services, specifically for stormwater, which mimics kind of what the engineering department does. This would allow us to have firms with different expertise on call for different projects. Maybe a project might require some wetland expertise or something that Beaufort is not usually used to. We are very satisfied with Beaufort services, but just to make sure that we have all the expertise that we need available to us, we will be having 3 on-call firms. Our staff, this one's going to be an exciting one. Public Works is hiring a project manager for stormwater. We've had this various iterations of this position before in Public Works, but this one is kind of new. This person will focus exclusively on these in-house projects that are coming out of the drainage studies that we've done. That'll be making sure that what is designed is properly implemented, which I think is a huge component of a functioning system. So we've been conducting interviews, and those will close this week, and we should have a decision by early next week, and hopefully have a person in 2 to 3 months, depending on the hiring process for HR. Any questions on that?
That wasn't in the budget to hire.
Yes, sir. In the restructure, with Katie's position being gone and different positions moving around, it was already budgeted for. We had a full-time position open. So it was not necessarily a new budgeted item. It's just a new job description. Yes. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are now in the unfinished, or in some terms, old business. At this time, I would like to thank my fellow board members for their trust and confidence in me, electing me in my absence last month, or last meeting, excuse me, to continue to be the chairman for at least another year of this illustrious board. I thank you all, and I know Patrick, as my vice chair, also thanks you greatly. The other unfinished business that we have concerns the parcel that was brought up in the public meeting. Plantation Road parcel, and I won't read the numbers of the plots, but it has been brought to our attention that it will be necessary for the Stormwater Utility Board to come up with a recommendation on this situation. We've been instructed that we need to have a meeting that we will convene by executive committee. We will do that via a Teams meeting where everyone can weigh in and we can discuss it. And then we need to write our formal opinion on this matter that will be sealed. And it will only be presented if and when the court asks for it. I would ask, if I am incorrect in anything that I have spoken about, that our assistant county attorney speak now.
Good afternoon. My name is Dylan Kidd. I'm a Deputy County Attorney for Beaufort County. I won't rehash everything I went through in the prior presentation, with the February meeting, but I did want to respond both on this point and to a couple of points that Mr. Kahn raised during public comment. I do believe that the concurrent proceedings issue presents a problem in that we don't want to be issuing a ruling on something that the circuit court is currently entertaining. However, I do believe it would be appropriate to formulate an opinion, a written recommendation within 15 days. It's going to be at the board's discretion whether they wish to release that or to wait upon any circuit court determination. I think it's entirely possible that you could choose to release that recommendation. However, I want to talk about a couple of things here, and the first is that I don't agree at all that that the concurrent proceedings issue has been set aside because of the grounds of the ZVOA ruling. The idea that you can raise arguments and appeal some of them to circuit court and some of them to another county board is not how issue preclusion works in the law. But even setting that issue aside, I think the board was without, the Connors were without standing and the board was without jurisdiction to hear this appeal, mainly because, well, for several reasons, but first of which is that they appealed a determination of the ZBOA to the Stormwater Board. And that is simply, it is written in the appellate materials that were submitted by the Connors to this board. They wrote that they were appealing the determination of the ZBOA. There is no provision in the CDC, there is no provision in the Stormwater Code or anywhere else within the Beaufort County's ordinances that permits or contemplates that path of appeal. If they were, and I would further note that there's nothing within the stormwater ordinance at all that permits this board to hear appeals from the issuance of an individual landowner's stormwater permit. They are arguing for a change in the scheme of the ordinance, and to the extent that they wish to argue for that, I think that the county staff would be happy to have them come in and present that to county council if that's a change that they wanted to make. But they're arguing for a review procedure that currently does not exist. They would have had to have appealed it from the time of the issuance or the determination of stormwater that the project met the applicable guidelines within 30 days. They did not do that. They would argue that they would not have received notice that that had happened, and that's the point. The stormwater ordinance does not contemplate the ability for you to receive notice of the issuance of your neighbor's stormwater permit and be able to appeal that to a board to contest it. We would be turning this board into something akin to a ZBOA for the issuance of stormwater permits, which is not something that it has ever been. This is a utility board. To the extent that we would make that change, that would come from, I think, county council. I think it would be a policy change. And to the extent you guys, that anybody wants that to happen, we could certainly entertain that through the proper channels, but that is not something that's on the table today. I would respectfully submit.
Thank you, but that is, I agree, we are not looking to change what our charter is. However, it is my belief that this board could render an opinion on whether the approval of this parcel meets our best management practices for stormwater. It goes without saying. As my pappy used to say, the problem with common sense is it isn't all that common. Kidding aside, if I am correct, it would be appropriate for this board to meet and render a decision that would be sealed. Is that correct? You mentioned that it could be broadcasted.
So I would not advise the board that it must be sealed. I think that is within the board's discretion. I think to the extent you would issue a recommendation that would in any way tie the hands or impede the decision-making process of the circuit court, I could see that being a problem. But in the interest of full disclosure, I do not believe you are required to keep that decision sealed until whatever happens with the circuit court happens. I can't categorically say that for you.
I would ask that you go back to your office and get us some definitive guidance.
Yes, sir.
Before we meet. I was told that we need to do this within the next 15 days.
That's correct.
So we have to meet, we have to discuss, and then someone has to write an opinion, right? And I have no problem, and I have so many learned colleagues here that would definitely volunteer to write that for me. That being said, we definitely need some specific guidance from your office.
Yes.
Before we meet.
And I need to ask a question as well. As we meet in this executive session, granted, maybe excluding Patrick, who probably has a lot more knowledge on a lot of this stormwater stuff than some of us do, are we allowed to have county staff present for advisement as we have questions that will be asked?
We would have to, so we'd have to publish an agenda for an executive session. This is all parliamentary procedure. We'd have to publish that. It would involve a quorum. We would have to come back and present findings that arose out of executive session. We would have to follow all of the regular parliamentary procedures that we do for county council meetings in terms of executive session.
I guess my last question is it mandatory that we do this?
And what's that based on that it's mandatory? It is defined within state legislature. It says we have to do this?
I don't believe that it is. I don't believe that it's mandatory that you meet in an executive session to make this decision. I do believe, however, that obviously the quorum rules apply. So if we get a quorum of our board here, then the rules of FOIA apply, and we would be responsible for going through all the precautions that involves.
So this is basically just an advisement from the county's attorney's office that we should do this and held in advance until it's needed. Is that correct?
I would not say that I'm making that recommendation. I believe that it's within the board's discretion as to how you want to handle this. I would not say that is required, but it's entirely up to the board's discretion.
As I asked before, I'd like some definitive legal guidance.
Yes, sir.
Before we do anything.
I'll get you the parameters. I can certainly do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any
Gentlemen, is there any other unfinished business that we need to bring forward? New business. Does anybody have any new business?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to go back to your comment earlier about our partners and their participation and getting in touch with them. I think maybe the board, all of us signing it, should send a letter to our partners that do or do not show up, instead of having it come from staff.
I would be glad to draft a letter to the responsible individuals in the municipalities asking for their increased participation levels.
I think it's, they have to work with them all the time, so instead of having them take all the gruff, we can take it.
I can handle it with your approvals.
You want that in motion, sir?
It's not necessary. I do need to bring up a little bit of new business that involves the members of this board. We're utilizing today Beaufort Public Library that has extremely limited parking that has made it difficult for people to attend and get here in a timely fashion. I would make a recommendation that we meet in the future until Beaufort County Council's contractor is finished with the refurbishment of the county room, county council's chamber, that we meet at the Public Works facility on Shanklin Road for future meetings. Is there a discussion? Second?
I second it.
All right, we have a second. Any discussion?
Really big in it.
We've been assured, looking at the amount of visitors that we have, that it should accommodate everyone. Then there's always standing room only.
And there is parking.
Are there other options as we talk to Technical College of Low Country or something like that? I mean, it's just a thought. We feel that that's not going to be big enough or adequate enough, but someplace where we have parking, and if there's availability, some, even in USCB or the theater at USC.
I have no problem asking Miss Sally to reach out to various venues. One would be the Palmetto Electric has a wonderful conference room off of 278 that's underutilized.
Facilities and Finance Committee meeting be at the Arthur, what is it, the Arthur Building?
Arthur.
So that's big enough for our committee meeting. Could we move this committee over Arthur Building? Is that what it's called? It's a fairly new building.
The good news is we have 60 days to do it, so it's not like we have to do it in the next 7 days. So I will communicate back to the board when the administrative staff has let me know of the other possibilities, and then we can make a decision.
Also, Beaufort City Council change. Other meetings on Tuesday, so Wednesday wouldn't be a problem.
Well, typically, we meet on Thursdays, but because
Wednesdays.
yes, Wednesdays. Yes, sorry.
Another year, huh?
Are you sure you want this? They told Biden to go away.
Mr. Chairman,
Strike that, please.
I think this gives us an excellent opportunity. We always hear that our meetings are north of the Broad, that for the next couple of meetings, I knew the peanut gallery was going to take a but I think it does show.
I do believe that we have the third, like the August meeting, I do believe is supposed to be south, December meeting is supposed to be south of the Broad. I will double check on that, but yes, we can accommodate that.
Upton Library could do that too, right?
That's good sense.
Believe that's where we have to
Well, we'll let the administrative staff work their magic.
Yes, sir.
Any other new business?
I don't know if it's appropriate to bring it up, but it's obviously was talked about before, and there were some emails sent out by the next meeting, or even sooner if need be, if it needs to be addressed. Can we talk about, I know this has been beaten like a dead horse, the pervious substances that are being installed? We really need to have engineering present to find out why we can't do that, and obviously tie it into stormwater and see the effects that it's going to have if it is an impervious substance. So I would almost like to make a motion that we do either strongly encourage them to come, or at least hand us a preliminary report of either reasoning of why they can't do it, whether it's expenditure, availability of materials, I don't know, but I certainly would like to have something written down and something decided upon by us before the next meeting.
I agree that there's a possibility. Bradley, are you present now? From
Got a summertime beard on.
well, do you have any information on the permitting from your department on this DOT project through the county on Alljoy Road?
No, so that's with engineering. So we don't, that's not under us, it's engineering.
So that would be Mr. Freilich?
Well, it's, Brian Bowers is the director of engineering now, so that would be he, but yeah, ultimately it's Jared.
I will personally contact Mr. Freilich and find out what they did in terms of permitting this. We understand it's a DOT project, not a county project. But as Mr. Ross said, I think it would be, as we've been asked to weigh in about a selective plot and potential runoff, I think it would be good for us as a stormwater utility board to come to agreement and see how it dovetails into the Soloco manual as to construction projects using pervious surface whenever possible. I'm sure that there's mention of that in the Soloco.
Taylor, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think anything that falls inside of SCDOT right away, they don't have to follow the Soloco manual. It's not their, they have their own design, everything they have at DOT is DOT, and that's what they're going to stick to. So, like you said, going back to that DOT's, it's going to come back to funding sources. I mean, that's a lot of, DOT has X amount of money, and obviously we know pervious is very expensive and, gets expensive. So I just know that they're not required to, if it's a DOT project, they're not required, correct me if I'm wrong.
They're under a different form of
Yeah.
Well, I understand that, but what works upstate doesn't work down in the low country. It's a different set of standards, and is there a way that we can appeal that? Or at least put an addendum to that, or something?
I think there could be a meeting held to discuss, and that's going to be way above me. This is going to be Jared, up to maybe county administrator, to discuss that with the uppers at SCDOT.
I would love if we could do that, because it doesn't make sense.
I can ask the question. I can put the question out there in front of Jared and ask him how we could proceed. But other than that, we're kind of, hands are kind of tied.
I get it.
Bradley, I was not trying to put Public Works on the spot. And the fact that engineering isn't present, but we do have, you as a staff member, Taylor as a staff member, that can bring it to somebody, even Mr. Moore as the administrator, as to say, we need to convene a meeting to determine cooperation with state DOT. And we have a liaison here to the county council, can also bring it to their attention.
There will be another public comment period. Okay.
So that's what the issue comes down to. It essentially comes down to who owns and maintains the road.
Well, thank you for that additional information. So, thank you, Bradley. We're glad to see you.
Thank you.
Do you have any more new business?
Not that I'm aware of. Is there anything, Taylor, that we need to bring up a new business that we have not?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, but there is an additional public comment time frame now in the meeting. Do we have any additional public comments?
Please come up to the podium so we can hear you. Thank you.
Let me just share the story.
My comments are about your favorite project on Plantation Road. I want to respond to a couple things Dylan said. First of all,
could you say who you are?
Oh, Barry Connor. And I live right down the road from the potential site. First of all, the jurisdiction for this appeal of the permit that was issued is you. If you look at your guidelines, it absolutely is your responsibility. The reason we went to the ZBOA was for zoning issues, and the reason we ended up coming to you with the appeal is because the zoning department isn't even supposed to issue stormwater permits, but they did. And the ZBOA, it's not in their wheelhouse to review stormwater permits, so we made an application here. And as far as the deadline that we supposedly missed, our timing was such that we did meet the deadline to come to you within the time frame after the ZBOA issued their formal opinion. As far as standing for Sam and his wife and two of my grandchildren, they definitely have standing. This property literally drains onto his property. He shares a tidal ditch with the property in question. Not only does he have standing, but according to your guidelines, any citizen would have standing if they find something as egregious as this mistake that was made by the zoning department and ultimately the county. I think when you dig into it, and it was mentioned that you need to decide whether or not the guideline, the code was met for this project and discuss it. They were not. As soon as you look into it, you will find out they were grossly, your guidelines, SOLOCA guidelines, were grossly ignored. So this is in your wheelhouse to make an opinion on. As far as the weird stuff about an executive session, I was a county council representative representing Bluffton years and years ago, a long time ago. It used to executive sessions, and the reasons for executive sessions, your deliberation on a project permit that was potentially issued in error, in our opinion was definitely issued in error, is not an executive session item. That's not appropriate. It's not appropriate to take action in executive session and somehow seal it. This does not create some kind of dual track legal issue. This, from day one, has been, this appeal is your responsibility to look at and make a decision about. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments at this time? Mrs. Wilson, I will hold you to the 3-minute maximum.
Okay, thank you. Just two things. Mentioning with the sidewalk and the concrete and all the above with SCDOT. I had reached out to the Secretary of Department of Transportation, and this is several years ago, because we asked, I mean, when we're trying to flush our toilets down at All Joy and get ditches cleaned out and just, first world kind of stuff, contacting them, they said, hey, you know what, Beaufort County can put in that sidewalk. We'll give them the contract back. They just don't want to maintain it. That's why, for the concrete, at least that's what was advised to us. The second concern, as I mentioned, in addition to the material of it, it's the piping underneath, how it's set up, how the plans. I can leave the plans with this board, and also I'm glad to forward the emails that I mentioned with SCTOT to the chairman. Anything I can provide and give, I will give. The second piece is with the piping. That's the thing. We don't want all this stuff piped into the May River. We already have a polluted river that we're trying to keep clean. So that's the main thing. We can't have all this stuff piped into the May. And then the last thing, again, just a shout out to this board. I know that Collins had mentioned about the ditches on Oyster Street. Seriously, this board helped with so many ditches getting things done. And the folks Taylor straight off, she's a rock star. We know this. Okay, but also, and she's just incredible, intelligent, has heart. But also the field people like Stephen Carter, seriously, what they're doing is huge and is a huge help. They've done so much stuff, but it was started with this board, and we thank you again. But Oyster, because of where it is and it's having come through with all these reeds and stuff like that, we're desperately trying to get the county down because they now own the beach to get, it's a crap hole down there. But with stormwater, so much was done, and we thank you for that. They're just still having issues on that lower area of Oyster. So thank you again.
Welcome. Thank you. There being no more There being no additional public comment, the next meeting will be held on June 18th. The place of the meeting is yet to be determined. Any other good and welfare comments, Dennis?
No, I just looked at Section 99, 111 appeals. I'm just trying to make heads or tails of it. I'll have a question.
I'm looking at sections 99, 104, and 103 about what our responsibilities are. So, again, we will discuss that definitely between now and the next meeting. If there be no other public comment or no other new business, I declare this meeting adjourned.